these supports need to be nerfed. It is Baptiste, Iliari, Lifeweaver, 𝐒𝐿𝐒𝐋, and in some circumstances, Ana. Now, we're going to talk about this a little bit in depth. I spoke about these topics previously in my videos before, but it seems like a lot of the topics that we discussed in these videos, people were unable to understand them, even though I thought I broke it down pretty clearly and as simple as I could. But I'm going to try and simplify these things again. I've been talking about this with people in the Overwatch forums as well as the Reddits, and again, the casual low elo player base just doesn't seem to understand that, you know, nowadays going after support and quote-unquote baiting cooldowns is not as easy as it looks, especially given the fact that a lot of these support abilities are very easy to execute compared to something in damage and tank. That is going to be the gist of what we're going to be talking about today. The amount of effort required to get the value, and, you know, spoiler alert, supports, they have a lot of easy value abilities and how they ruin the game for the damage role. But not even that, most importantly, they are really screwing over the tank role more often than not. We're going to talk about this right now, right away. Let's not waste any time and get into the culprits. And those are Lifeweaver, 𝐒𝐿𝐋, Iliari, Brigitte, Baptiste, and Ana. Now, originally I was going to talk about Moira, but I'm going to kind of leave her out of this because she technically doesn't bring any utility. And all the characters that I talked about, they're basically Moira, but with more in their kit, more power, more utility, more damage, better ultimates, etc., etc. So Moira is going to kind of be left out for now, and she's going to be categorized with Mercy, Lucio, and Zenyatta as a balanced support. The only other support that I would say is the midway point, who's not entirely broken but does have something very powerful in his kit, is going to be Lifeweaver. And then Lifeweaver is the midway point, and then above him is 𝐒𝐿𝐋, Iliari, Brig, Bap, and Ana. Okay, honestly, like, Brig is a bit of an awkward situation because she's relatively healthy-ish simply because she insta loses to certain compositions or heroes, so I'm gonna leave Brig out of it for now. She's not even seeing play in this meta. Poke meta is just horrible for Brig, so she's just kind of awkward and, you know, on the side. So Brig, you know, you're gonna move out the way. We're gonna talk about Ana, Bap, Iliari, 𝐒𝐿𝐋, and Lifeweaver. At least in terms of Lifeweaver, what is the frustration part of his kit? So let's get started. We're going to start with Lifeweaver because he's not that much of an offender in this category of a broken support, but he has a ridiculously powerful ultimate. Now, before we go on, I want to make something very clear about Lifeweaver. The reason I consider Lifeweaver to be relatively healthy and viable is because Lifeweaver is mostly a single target healer, and a lot of his abilities are pretty much like, if your teammates don't understand how to use them or utilize what you've done for them, especially from the pedal platform perspective, you basically bring no value, and you're just kind of like an upgraded Moira from the healing perspective, and in terms of the, like, some utility that you can bring to enable teammates, you know. Again, it's very reliant on a pedal platform, but if you at least have a duo, you can definitely make something happen, especially if they're a tank player. The broken thing about Lifeweaver is pretty fair, and everything is relatively fine. He's very easily punishable. His dash that he has with the double jump is not that far. His pedal platform is a bit annoying, but you can deal with it, honestly. Definitely where I draw the line, it is not even the pull. I actually think pull is okay. Yeah, it can be really annoying sometimes, especially if you're playing tank and you're about to eliminate the enemy tank and he just gets pulled away, and, you know, you're annoyed that, damn, I was about to punish this guy and he just got away. The real pain about Lifeweaver is actually in the Tree of Life and the buffs that they gave to it. In my personal opinion, the fact that Tree of Life, you know, I've been saying this a lot lately in a lot of my videos. I say that if Tree of Life comes up, you cannot win that team fight. There are, like, the chances of you winning that team fight are so low, it's insane. And that's because of a variety of factors. Okay, the number one culprit is the fact that Tree of Life turns everybody, the back line, the front line, and your tank, into just, first of all, the squishies become mini tanks. They all have like 300 HP pretty much. And even over time, they're just like, if you're bursting through that health, they're just constantly gaining it because of the tree itself. So the fact that he just enables a goat-like playstyle, is incredibly powerful. The next thing is, you know, now that people have kind of learned Lifeweaver, they know how to shut down chokes with the tree, where to position the tree to take a fight over there with your team. And honestly, like, it's really powerful. But in a weird way, I like it. The only thing I would nerf about the Tree of Life pulses, if Blizzard is pretty much intent on keeping it as like a mini GOATS enabler, then the only way I would nerf it is either make the pulses faster and then reduce the amount of health and healing that it gives. Now, technically, this could be a net buff, but it would allow for those few seconds for you to actually break through the healing. Again, it all depends on the numbers. However, the alternative way is allow it to regen HP, and even if it's going to give overhealth, the overhealth amount should only be 50. So you get to keep the healing numbers the same, and you get to nerf the aspect where people become mini tanks. So any general squishy should go up to 250 HP, 250 targets go up to 300, etc., right? And that allows for a little bit more room of counterplay. Because honestly, like if anybody's been playing against Lifeweaver this season, you can't deny that whenever a Tree of Life comes up, it just feels like you've lost the fight. These days, when I play with my stack, every time we see a Tree of Life, I'm like, just LOS and don't engage. There is no point. We are not winning that fight. If you engage into a Tree of Life team that has it in their range and they're taking a fight with you over there, you are unironically throwing. It's that powerful of an ultimate. Like, you have to respect it. And it's really silly that there's practically no tools in the game that can counter it. I don't know if Sombra's EMP still deals with it, but for sure, Lifeweaver, just a little adjustment on Tree of Life, and then overall, I think he's fine because he's not this like insanely like AoE support, I deny everything, I cancel everything type of character. He's relatively a really good heal bot playstyle. He's very like, I just think of him as an upgraded Moira. Like honestly, if they could upgrade Moira, Lifeweaver is basically that. His right click damage is not that bad either. I feel like people really underestimate how good that thing is now. Granted that again, it's still a little bit clunky, but honestly, I've been seeing some Lifeweaver confirm some kills. My duo, my girlfriend has been playing Lifeweaver a lot lately, and man, I've been seeing her get some 2Ks here and there. It's like it gets in their hands of the right person, they can sneak in some cheeky kills here and there. Now, with that being said, that's it for Lifeweaver. Overall, I think Lifeweaver and Brigida are the midway point of like, okay, like things are getting silly, but they're not that out of control because you can still easily counter these characters like Lifeweaver and Brig, because Brig just loses to poke comms or like a good Fire Mercy or a good Brawl tank just runs her over. Like, it forces Brig to play very conservative, which is something that Brig doesn't want. And Lifeweaver is also like, he has a very big hitbox. He's very big, easy to headshot, easy to body shot. Like, Lifeweaver has to be very careful with his positioning. So that's definitely something to keep in mind when Brig and Lifeweaver, is that I draw the line that these are the characters that are at the midway point where they feel powerful in the right situations, but in other situations they're kind of here and there, so they're okay. So the balanced tier is what I call Mercy, Lucio, Zen, and I guess Moira. And then in the midway point where they're just touching that range of being a bit too strong is Lifeweaver and Brig, but they're situational, so it's okay. But there is some aspects of the case that's a little bit broken. Like, Lifeweaver is definitely above Brig in this case because his Tree of Life is a bit too strong. And then we get overpowered, and that is definitely going to be the... I just call them hybrids at this point. And Ana, Bap, Iliari, and Kiriko. These four are the culprits of Season 6 and Season 7. They have incredible poke damage. They have incredibly high healing. They have incredibly good sustain damage and healing in the way that they can do things and alternate between it. And they also have really powerful abilities that can shut down entire engages, that can shift the course of a team fight. My point here is this what we want for the future of supports? Do we want supports to be the hybrid role that I can do it all? Because that's so far the philosophy of the way that they're balancing and treating these characters, that no, you should do everything on this character, everything on that character. And then it's like, well, how do we bring Mercy, Lucio, Zen up to par as well? Does Zen finally see a big healing buff? Does Lucio see a big healing and speed buff? Like, we shouldn't have to do things like that. We need to tone Bap, Ana, Iliari, Kiriko down. I think the number one thing to do, this is discussed in the Group Up Support podcast. One moment, let me take a drink of my coffee real quick. One thing that's definitely been discussed is Kiriko, Iliari, Bap, and Ana. They are able to use a lot of their cooldowns that they should be using for themselves a lot more aggressively, simply because the support passive allows them to get away with situations that they shouldn't be able to. Even today, I was playing a game with Ana, and I felt like, wow, I really don't ever need to use nade for myself. Let's say like maybe the 5 times that I've used a nade, out of those 5 times, only 1 time that I feel like, okay, I should probably use the nade for myself or for my tank. Otherwise, I was just tossing that thing out there, man. Especially like if you have another quote-unquote main healer that can heal a lot, so Moira, Lifeweaver, Kiriko, Iliari, Baptiste on your side, you can keep using nade aggressively, because when you and the other main healer are pumping into your tank, because that's the only one where the high healing matters, you never feel punished for using your nade in that way, right? And that's kind of crazy with Ana, right? Bap, Kiriko, Iliari also are culprits of different situations. So we're going to start with Kiriko and then we'll move away from Iliari, Bap, and Ana. So Kiriko's strength is, I'm actually fine with a lot of her kit. I think she's okay as this DPS support hybrid character. The only area that I would love to change about her, because I do think that they've done a good job of kind of dealing with her, is number one, for sure, her hitbox need to be increased. Like her actual character size is so skinny like a stick. Like she has so many escape tools. Like number one, she's hard to hit. Number two, she got wall climb. Number three, she can teleport and cleanse herself if she has a negative effect in that process. Then number four, she's got the Suzu that drops, then that cleanses, that also heat burst heals, that also what's it called? That also makes your mortality for 1 more second. And my goodness, like, and then you can rotate into your wall climb and then teleport because it's a 6 second quota. Like, if you know what you're doing with Kiriko, when the time comes for you to survive, she can feel impossible to kill, and the range of which she can teleport is crazy. Now, here's the thing, right? While I think that Kiriko should is a little bit silly, and I do want her hitbox to be a little bit increased so she's a lot easier to hit, because I do think she's the how small she is really silly. I'm not going to lie, right? I would say the area that we take away her power from is the Suzu, and I think like we've played with it for a year, and I think we understand Suzu's invulnerability, not the cleanse, not the burst healing. The invulnerability, the 1 second of invulnerability that it brings, that needs to go away. Okay, then you can increase the healing on the Suzu cleanse, and you can maybe shorten the cooldown so Kiriko has to like just like be like this combo healer and everything. Like I think that would be much more healthy for Kiriko. And she already does really good poke damage, and she's a really good duelist when she's taking 1v1s. So from that perspective, I would say that's much more healthy for Kiriko than giving her this 1 second of invulnerability. And for anybody that plays Overwatch, everybody knows that that 1 second of invul is a big difference. It's a kill confirmation, it's a team fight decider. Like that 1 second is a big deal, right? So it's either you reduce the invul down to 0.5, 0.1, 0.2 seconds, or you just get rid of it entirely and let her heal more with that thing. The same way that they realized that Brigitte giving armor tanks to flankers, turning them into like mini tanks, was not a good design, especially when you had the Tracer in the backline with like 225 HP just bursting you down, right? So if we could understand that for Brigitte's armor pack, then we can understand that a year later, Suzu's invulnerability is just not healthy for the game, especially with the way tanks interact. If you're a Doomfist and you have a fully powered Empowered Punch and you punch in, Kiriko invuls at the right time, and it's really not that hard to do, given the fact that you're, like, as a Doomfist, you're grunting and moaning all over the map before you come in. When you fly through that enemy team and you're stuck in their backline, you're in trouble, and at that point, like, the other people on her team will cool down you, will delete you, and that's just not a fair interaction in my personal opinion. Like, there's so much value that comes from what the Kiriko did compared to what the Doom is about to do. Doom has to meet specific conditions in order to be able to get value from his punch. Kiriko just looks at the ground, throws it, and it's like, oh well, here we go. And then there's the healing that comes with it, and the whole list goes on. So Kiriko, they're almost there at kind of toning her down and everything. That's what I would like to see, is just remove the invulnerability. And if we want to push her survivability, like that she's staying alive a bit too much, then I would say reduce the distance on her teleport. I think the fact that the backline flanking Kiriko playstyle is so prominent that she can just, like, it's hard to punish her because of her small hitbox, and she can escape so swiftly back into her team. It's just a little bit silly. Like, we have to decide, where does the strength come from? Is this character a really good heal bot, or is this character supposed to be the DPS support hybrid? If you wanted to be the DPS support hybrid, okay, fine, let her keep the range, let her keep the teleport, take the power away from the Suzu. If you want her to lean into the heal bot aspect, okay, fine. Remove the invulnerability, because that's too silly now. And let her keep the cleanse, and let her get a little bit more burst healing on it. That's the way I see it. That's the way that I'm trying to draw a line of, okay, we need to keep them fun to play, impactful, but not overpowered, right? So that's the way I see Suzu being balanced out. Moving over to 𝐒𝐿iari, I really love 𝐒𝐿iari. She's my favorite support. But I can't deny that, yeah, she's kind of crazy right now and what she can do. I think I don't like about 𝐒𝐿iari is something that isn't necessarily like a thing in other supports. Is basically, again, they're leaning into the whole DPS support playstyle. And what I don't like is when you throw up your pylon, you could just, like, you bring a sixth person into the lobby, right? It's like, okay, this is your little pocket Mercy heal bot, and I'm gonna just off angle for a little bit, like, try to put pressure, like, fly out of the way, get back to my team, and rinse and repeat this process. And it just feels a little bit unfair, It's like, it's one thing to have Torb and his turret that are like working in conjunction to do one job, and then it's another thing to have 𝐒𝐿iari and her turn that both can do two of the same jobs and also separate jobs all at the same time, right? What I would personally like to see is pylon It can stay up for a maximum of, let's say, maybe 5 to 10 seconds, anywhere in this cooldown range. The 𝐒𝐿iari has to really be attentive to her kit. I want her to be more active, and they did a really good job with this with Sombra's virus, where she, you just have to be very active with Sombra. I would love to see 𝐒𝐿iari for like this too. Like if 𝐒𝐿iari is going on the offensive, she has to be aware that, okay, in like a little bit my pylon's gonna go down, I have to put it back up. So you make the character somewhat artificially clunky, but you don't take away the power from the kit in any way, shape, or form. It's just the way that you can just put pylon up, ignore it, and it just does everything. So maybe another way to deal with it is, okay, maybe we don't put it on a 5 to 10 second cooldown or anywhere in that range of seconds. Maybe the way we nerf pylon is there's a certain range that 𝐒𝐿iari can play. Like just 𝐒𝐿iari, she has to stay within the range of pylon in order for her to get value out of it. So again, it will maintain the strength of pylon, but it forces 𝐒𝐿iari to play within that range. And if she doesn't, she will have 1 second to get back to it. And if she doesn't, it immediately bursts, right? So that's the way I see it. Another quality of life change that could help tone these things down is if 𝐒𝐿iari dies, her turn goes with it. Personally, I think this should be applied to all the buildable and turn characters right now, because I do feel like we have a big buildable creep that nobody's talking about. I'm going to do a video on this tomorrow. And I just think that those would be like some options to deal with 𝐒𝐿iari, because her strength to do a little bit of everything and be really good at everything is just way too strong. And I think her ultimate is fine. Her numbers are relatively okay-ish, but I do think we need to evaluate like the way the pylon works. Again, me personally, I would take away power from the pylon and put it in her right click. So it's forcing the 𝐒𝐿iari to slow down and now use her beam healing for a little bit, kind of heal bot for a bit. Once the team fight gets better, start DPSing. Kind of like, just making her like a Moira style of gameplay, Life Weaver style of gameplay, where you kind of just want to slow down, focus on your team. Ana has this built into her kit already where, okay, I need to slow down, focus on my team, then go back to it. 𝐒𝐿iari doesn't really have that. She's like, okay, I place pylon up, I'll heal you for a little bit. It doesn't matter because like my beam is kind of semi-useless anyway. I'm gonna just get back and get to shooting the targets down, because if I kill them, then nobody can kill you, So 𝐒𝐿iari overall really fine, but just some interactions. And I feel like this problem is kind of prevalent with most of the meta supports right now. It's like they're not that far from being considered balanced. It's just that there's some areas where they're just too strong. There's no trade-off, right? 𝐒𝐿iari, no trade-off. She's got mobility, high damage, high healing, etc., etc. 𝐒𝐿ico, pretty much same thing, right? Anyways, moving on to the last two, it's Ana and Bap. And I'm going to save Bap for the end because he's the biggest problem right now in the game. And we're talking about Ana first. Now, Ana, again, is one of those characters where she's relatively fine to a certain extent until we reach the nade. Now, the nade that I want to personally talk about is, it's a very sticky situation, right? Simply because nade is so strong that once you land it, you pretty much win the team fight to a certain extent. If you have good teammates, people understand how to follow up your nades, it's pretty much GG's for the other side once that nade hits. Now, if the other side has 𝐒𝐿ico, it's like you can counterplay it right away, etc., etc. The list goes on of how Ana, 𝐒𝐿ico kind of, are rivals towards each other in the way that they're both designed. But I do think that, we have to consider that, let's say maybe we reduce the damage on the anti. Maybe I've been saying this for a while, and I know people don't like it, but I think instead of anti-nade, it becomes a healing reduction nade. I feel like it's worth at least experimenting with. I play a lot of Ana. I have over 1,670 hours on Ana as we speak, and I'm a Genji main, right? So I speak this even from the perspective of Ana that, man, like, when you know what you're doing with Ana, there's so much power in the game right now, right? Now, alternatively, you could be saying that this is because of the argument that at the moment, Ana doesn't need to use the nade on herself, so she's forced to, like, well, not forced, but you have the window to just be aggressive. That's kind of the thing right now, that a lot of the supports have the window to do whatever they want, and I would argue that that's also because of the support passive. So then my talk is, well, maybe we kind of let Ana be on her own for a little bit. Let's nerf the healing passive, the support passive down to 3 seconds and see what that does to Ana, right? If it forces Ana players to change their playstyles or not, let's kind of evaluate and see what that does. Because otherwise, like, Ana paired with the other supports right now, she's so strong. And she's been very strong in all the seasons, right? And again, a lot of that has to do with sleep and nade. Her nano is amazing with a lot of the characters right now. And that's where it's like, it's really difficult to approach Ana, because at the end of the day, she's a single target healer. Her AoE is in her nade, in whether she heals her team and gives them the 50% healing, or the way that she deals with the enemy. So overall, it's one of those cases where I want to see what happens when the support passive gets nerfed, if they nerf that. If not, then in my personal opinion, the healing increase that Ana's nade gives needs to go down because we have too many characters that do high healing. Or you nerf the anti-power of the kit where instead of completely shutting down the healing, she reduces the healing. Now, personally, I would like to see the... Man, I don't know. Like, for Ana, it's a really weird situation because it's like she's a byproduct of the change of the game. Like, she was already a great support in Season 1, 2, and 3, and now with that aggressive playstyle is being rewarded more, she's just too good at it. And I feel like that's what happens when you take away power from tank and damage, is supports can just do whatever they want, and we need to kind of keep them in that range of, hey, do your job, you can do other things when the time is right, but it shouldn't be able to be other roles. Otherwise, like, what's the point of the other roles, right? Like, it just feels incredibly silly, especially with the support players that make the silly argument that, oh, you should force cooldowns, or, oh, like, you know, you're playing DPS, support shouldn't just be a free kill. Nobody is saying that support should be a free kill. People are saying that support should be fair in the way that they can duel and take team fights with their team and other characters, right? One moment, we're going to sip the coffee. And that's basically why I'm making this video today. It's like, I personally feel like support is a little bit unfair, you know? Moving over to Baptiste, even before we talk about Bap, even in the background footage, right? If you watch the Brigitte gameplay, I built Rally in 1-1 team fight, right? I'll play the footage right now again. Please watch this team fight as I talk about Bap, right? I know Brigitte is not OP, but this is how strong healing and supports are. Is that in one team fight, I got Rally up, right? Now you can say a lot of the factors of, oh, your team needs healing a lot, you're doing AoE heals, blah, blah, blah. But that's still my point, right? Like, look at what I have to do to get value compared to what tank and DPS have to do to get value. It's much easier. Like, let's not beat around the bush, okay? That brings us down to Baptiste. Bap is a big problem. Like, with all the other supports, you know, they're on that verge of, okay, like, just tune some of the things and they'll be fine. Bap is not in that scenario. Bap has a lot of power in everywhere in this kit, right? Bap does AoE healing with his right click, and the numbers are still relatively strong. His shift does 80 healing in the initial burst, and it can overheal as well. So if you're full HP and you're taking damage, it heals over time. Bap has really good burst damage. Bap has a really good ultimate. One of the biggest misconceptions about Baptiste in Overwatch 2 is because the bunker playstyle kind of died, people were saying that Bap will just kind of fade away and like not fit in. I actually argue against that, and I would say Bap is actually really good right now. Why? Because a lot of the times you're using Immortality Field selfishly. Yeah, of course you can use it for some situations in team fights, and it's good when you do. He's really good with a lot of the comps right now. Like, he's fit in really well with this new Orisa poke comp. He's really good with rush comps. Like, I argue that Bap isn't necessarily tied to just this bunker playstyle, because right now in Overwatch, when you play a poke or brawl or rush comp, you're pretty much playing it like a moving bunker. I'm not going to lie. And Bap fits really, really well into that, you know? And he has great synergy with a lot of the other supports. He has great synergy with a lot of the tanks. Sorry, man, this coffee is just too good. We need a moment to drink the coffee. But yeah, so in my perspective, like, I really want to see like two things, right? Baptiste is a big problem. And if they don't touch Immortality Field, I'm okay with it. I know it sounds really weird to say because the problem is Immortalities and things like that. And again, I would rather see Immortality Field a damage reduction. Like, I'm tired of these like abilities that shut you down, whether it's invulnerability, no healing, no damage. Like, I would rather we just see a percentage increase. Like, oh, Immortality Field is up. Okay, it's a little bit tankier than usual, but but the trade-off is, okay, you're not immortal in it, but you take 90% less damage or something like that. I would rather see that from Immortality Field. Another nerf idea for Bap is also like either give him a better damage drop off or reduce the damage that he does with his gun. I think it's 25 per shot, right? Per bullet right now, or 24. I would rather see it go down to 23. Like, I think he's way too strong in how he can take duels, and out of all the characters in the game, I make this argument right now, Bap is the best character in 1v1s. He has 3 HP bars. Let me give you a scenario. One more coffee sip, and I give you a scenario, okay? Think about it like this. You engage a Baptiste, he has 200 HP to begin with, okay? You bring him down to half, you press a shift, he's almost back to full HP again. So now you fight him again, okay? And at this point, you, whatever character you are, you have spent your cooldowns, excuse me. Then what happens is, now when you bring him down to low, At this point, he brings Immortality Field up. Now, him and Immortality Field have two separate HP bars. So you have to decide which one do you want to take. Obviously, logically, you should go for the Immortality Field, but by the time you're wasting in that 1v1, go for Immortality Field, BAP is bursting you down. Okay? And at that point, again, you have to then fight his HP bar that is recovered through the support passive. And by this point, again, his shift is going to come online. So do you see how insane Baptiste is right now? So BAP, without a doubt, needs nerfs the most. Like BAP, number 1, and behind him, 𝐒𝐈𝐍𝐊𝐒, number 2, and then alongside them, Ana and Kiriko. These 4 supports really need to be addressed, right? Maybe the solution is the support passive, but personally, in my opinion, I think for a character like BAP and 𝐒𝐈𝐍𝐿, the support passive will not be enough. They have really strong abilities in Pylon, in Immortality Field, in the Regen Burst. That's what I would like to see adjusted. Maybe some power shifts here and there, but I don't know. What do you guys think? How would you like to see some of the meta supports being addressed? Right now, meta supports are a healthy mix of Ana, BAP, 𝐒𝐈𝐍𝐿, Kiriko, Lifeweaver, and in some niche situations, Brick. But that's not meta, most effective tactic available. That's just niche situation. So, what do you guys think? How do we approach Lifeweaver, Kiriko, 𝐒𝐈𝐍𝐿, BAP, and Ana? Let me know your comments on the thoughts. English. Let me know your thoughts in the comments down below. If there's any other character that you feel like needs a nerf, please let me know why. And as always, if you want to support the channel for free, just hit like and subscribe. If you want to support the channel financially, then we will have a Patreon and everything coming up soon. But you can use the super chat feature to donate directly to me. I really appreciate it if you do. With that being said, I will see you in the next video.